Hello, everyone. This is Kelley Pierre reporting from African American Golfers Digest. And today we have the privilege of speaking with Russ Crockett. So, Mr. Crockett, if you mind, can you just introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, thank you, Kelley. I appreciate it. I'm Russ Crockett. I am an entrepreneur in Houston. I've spent my career in the chemical industry after attending college becoming a chemical engineer. And so I worked my way up through, a couple of organizations here in Houston. I've been in Houston since the mid 90s, which is where I met Dr. Sifford when I first moved here about a year after I arrived. I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I've got a family, a wife and 3 kids. And so life is good.
Good. So can you tell me about meeting Dr. Sifford?
Yeah, it's a cool story. I just happened to be playing golf with a client here in Houston, and they were selling his book, Just Let Me Play, which had been out maybe 4 or 5 years. I was aware that it was out, but it was kind of struck me odd as being available in this country club in the suburbs of Houston. And it was, it was mostly white country club. Mm-hmm. And so I asked the person that asked me to play with him that day. He was a member. I said, well, why did I have Charlie Sifford's book in the pro shop? He said, oh, he's a pro out here. He said, matter of fact, go into the store, get the book, charge it to my account, and just go out to the driving range. He's probably out there. Sure enough, he was out there by himself. He's smoking a stogie, and I didn't want to bother him, so I just kind of pulled up a plastic chair about 40 yards behind him and watched him hit about 20 balls, and they were all perfect, a pie pan of divots, and it was beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. And at this point, he's like 75, so he's a super senior at this point. Mm-hmm. And he takes a puff of his cigar, reaches in his pocket, and he says, "Young man, don't make me pull out my pistol." And I laughed, and he laughed, and we became fast friends from there, man. It was a beautiful meeting. I knew him for the next 20 years of his life. Mm-hmm. He lived in Houston probably for 7 more years before he moved back to Cleveland with his sons. He's got 2 sons that live in Cleveland, Charles and Craig. And but I got to smoke cigars with him. I got to play golf with him. I had the blessing of actually having a hole-in-one. I've only had one hole-in-one in my life, and that was with Dr. Sifford.
Wow.
And so many great stories with him. Yeah. And as a result of my personal relationship with him, that led to being able to take on this project and celebrate him in his centennial year.
Can you talk about the Dr. Charlie Sifford Centennial?
Yeah, so we formed a company called JLMP, which is just short for Just Let Me Play, and because I knew the family, I had been talking to several of my friends, and they said, "Hey, you knew Charlie well. Why don't you do something to push a documentary, a film, feature film, something about him?" And I'm a chemical industry guy. I didn't know anything about films or that industry. So I actually linked up with a couple of guys. A family member is Daryl Porter, has an estate management company, and he represented several people like Count Basie and Miles Davis and other notable individuals. He was in LA, and so he has a lot of connections. He's done film work in his career, and so he was a perfect person. And then we have another partner, Terrell Whitley, who is in Atlanta, who runs a company called Liquid Soul, which is a media marketing company, and so he deals with entertainers, he deals with films and TV shows and all of that. And so the 3 of us, in about right around the time COVID, sort of started. We started the company, and then, later in the summer approached the family and said, hey, look, I've got this team here. We think we can, advance the memory of your dad. We put the appropriate, legal estate management contract in place between JLMP and the family. And that then allows us to go out and really do, all of the things that we can. And ultimately, the strategy of the company is to increase the brand awareness of Dr. Sifford in terms of who he was, what he did. Because, us in the golf industry, we know who Charlie Sifford is. But, if you're a golfer, you know who Charlie Sifford is, or a black golfer, for the most part. But there's a whole lot of people who don't know about him. So that was part of the mission, right? We want to raise some awareness. And this Centennial, it just so happened, again, the partner in LA, he's done and been involved with the states, and Centennials have, come and gone in certain cases for notable individuals. So it just gave us an opportunity to sort of shine a really bright light and celebrate Dr. Sifford for, quite honestly, a period of months now that we've been at this. So, we haven't necessarily reached our, objective of making a film, or, we have an opportunity even to make a play, but what we have done is we've established relationships with the PGA Tour, with other large organizations like that to help, increase awareness. The second element of our strategy is to create opportunities for entities to support charities that Dr. Sifford would have supported. Right. We don't want to establish our own foundation. That was not ever the point. What we wanted to do was, if there were organizations who wanted to either use Dr. Sifford's name, image, and likeness, or if they wanted to just support a good cause, they would use us as a means to get to that organization. And so we've established relationships with several 501c3 charitable foundations that are advancing Dr. Sifford's memory.
Okay, nice. Can you tell me about the format of the Centennial?
Yeah, so when we started, again, it was 2020. So we began to talk about, who is it that we really need to approach? And at the time we were approaching studios who might be interested in his story, and we continue to do that today. But in addition, we said, let's get sort of prepared for the 2022 calendar year by developing some merchandise and some items that we could use to sort of raise awareness of Dr. Sifford. So on one of the first things that we did outside of contacting studios is we reached out to the PGA Tour and basically say, look, we're going to celebrate Dr. Sifford's Centennial in 2022. He was the Jackie Robinson of your sport. How do you guys want to lean into this? And so, we had several discussions with them over a period of time. And again, in the meantime, we started working with some organizations. The first sort of most important maybe piece of documentation and collateral we had for this was the Just Let Me Play book. So Dr. Sifford published that book in '92. We said, look, we need to update it because he lived 20 more years almost, actually more, 22, 23 years after he published it. So there's a lot that happened in his life during that period. Right? The last 15 years of his life, he got in the Hall of Fame, he got the doctorate, he got the Presidential Medal of Freedom. There were a lot of beautiful pictures that, Tiger Woods came on the scene after he wrote his book. And so we captured as many of those pictures in the Centennial Edition of the book, and we released the book. So we went through all the legal channels, made sure that we were cool in terms of the family owned the rights to the book, and so from there we just created the book. We had Black Classic Press out of Baltimore publish it for us, print it for us, I should say, and so that was step one. And then look, Charlie, from a cigar aficionado standpoint, you can't name me one person who was probably photographed more with a stogie than Dr. Sifford. Maybe there's a few, right? But in the
signature.
It's signature, right?
Yeah.
I mean, golf and cigars go with Charlie, right?
Right.
And so I was fortunate to have a relationship and a friendship, and still do, with John Starks from the New York Knicks. All right.
Yeah.
And so Starks has a cigar lounge in Connecticut, and he's got his own brand of cigars called Legend Cigars. And so he and I go on a golf trip every year, and so as a result, I went to John. I said, "Look, John, man, you know about Charlie, and and John has a lot of admiration for Charlie, and so." As a result, it was sort of a no-brainer that we worked with his company to develop a Centennial cigar. It's a Churchill, and we have a beautiful 5-pack box of 5 Churchills. They're Dominican rolled. They have a Connecticut wrapper, which makes them, somewhat mild, but they are very flavorful. And so we introduced those late in 21, and have, basically been selling them through John's website, and actually going to cigar events. I've been to several cigar events, and we have a few coming up because his birthday's coming. Dr. Sifford's birthday is June 2nd. And so we are, less than 3 weeks away from some celebrations, and so we're going to put some smoke in the air for Dr. Sifford to celebrate his legacy. So we have a cigar, and there's a brother. He's a frat brother of mine. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. He has a golfer. He's got a golf apparel company called Boca Fogie. You probably know about Boca Fogie and Al Quarles, other Al Quarles. He created a Centennial hat for us, and so here's the Centennial hat in crimson and cream, and Boca Fogie on the side, 100 for the Centennial, and then the Boca Fogie logo on the back. So these are available for sale through Al's website, through Boca Fogie, and so we have a partnership with them. So just a few neat elements that people can have as keepsakes, as just in memory of Dr. Sifford. And so what ultimately unfolded, Kelley, for some of the tributes, the PGA Tours just sort of run with this thing and done their own thing, and incorporated celebrations of Dr. Sifford into tournaments. And so the Genesis in LA, the first tee box had 100 on it. Tiger Woods announced the Charlie Sifford exemption member on the first tee by basically saying, look, this is Charlie's 100th year. We're celebrating him. The hole number 1 is hole number 100. So they had 100 on the sign, and they had 100 on the flag on the first hole at Riviera. And it was a heck of a way to kick off Charlie's celebration. And so Charles Jr., who manages Charlie's estate, went out there for that event. We got a lot of nice pictures of him that day. Aaron Beverly was the Charlie Sifford's exemption winner. A lot of pictures with him, with Tiger, and Tiger talked openly in the press conference about his relationship with Charlie. Right. And he named his son after Charlie Sifford. So so a lot came out of that, and that was February. March, they had the first annual Charlie Sifford the Charlie Sifford Award at the Hall of Fame, and Renee Powell won that. And so the Sifford family was there for that. April, I went to the Orlando Cigar Fest and introduced the folks in the cigar culture to Dr. Sifford's cigar and other merchandise. And then here in May, we're going to have a First Tee event. It's going to be the First Tee of Greater Houston has partnered with us. They're naming the tournament in honor of Dr. Sifford, this Charlie Sifford Centennial Tournament. We've got 90 kids that will participate, all ages. We're going to give them a goodie bag with a different kind of hat than the one I showed you. It's a bucket hat that has Dr. Sifford's logo on it.
Logo, yeah.
And it's a reversible bucket hat, so they can wear it on either side. And the sponsor of that is Original Penguin. They sent us a bunch of hats, a bunch of shirts to give to the kids. And so in connection with and this is really cool, Kelley, in the connection to this tournament, for the kids, we're going to kick off an essay contest in the Greater Houston area. So, broader than just the First Tee kids, anybody can create an essay, 500 to 1,000 words on Charlie Sifford, who he was, why is he a significant figure in history, and what is it that we as children and adults can learn from, the qualities that made up Charlie, right?
Right.
And so that essay contest will kick off May 21st at the First Tee event, and we'll go through July 31st. We'll collect the entries. We'll have a few judges to judge those. We have 3 categories: elementary, middle school, and high school. And the APGA, the Advocates Tour, is sponsoring the essay contest, and they will award prizes to 3 winners, first, second, third place in each category. And that will occur at their Charlie Sifford Centennial Tournament here in Houston in October. So we kind of linked the professional world and the kids world using Dr. Sifford, as a catalyst, and the essay contest to connect the dots. So it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be cool. I've enjoyed the experience of working with these organizations, and again, everything ain't got to have money. Money does help in a lot of cases, particularly when you're talking about making a film but you can also do some nice things that are very lasting and powerful, right? And have an impact, and that's what we're looking to do. It's again consistent with what we believe that Dr. Sifford, would want, and it raises awareness of who he was, and it also, involves some charitable activities. So, once we get past May, as I mentioned before, June 2nd is his actual birthday,
right?
And so that was the day that if he were still living, he would be 100, and so. At the memorial in Dublin on Wednesday, June 1st, Jack Nicklaus and the memorial are going to honor Dr. Sifford posthumously, as they do every year. They honor, golfers at the memorial, and so the family will attend. I'll be there for that event, and then. That's June 1st. On June 2nd, there's an event in DC at the Langston Golf Course, which Charlie absolutely loved Langston. And there are 2 organizations there that are putting on a 3-day event My Future, My Game. Craig Kirby is the executive director. He is has partnered with us on the Charlie Sifford Centennial Cup. It's a Ryder Cup style event between Craig's organization and First Tee of DC. And they'll have 12 golfers who will play match play on Saturday. And the winner will win the Charlie Sifford Cup. And it's played on Langston's golf course. Thursday, they have a private party, adults only. And inside there's the birthday party itself for invited guests. Outside, we're having a cigar event because on Charlie's birthday, we got to put some smoke in the air. I mean, it's you just got to do it,
Yeah.
Well, you feel me?
Yeah,
And,
it's custom.
And so, and then they're going to take the kids to the African American History Museum in DC, and then they'll play the tournament on Saturday. So a nice event. We do Charlie Sifford Centennial Cup. I'm going to head back to Columbus, Dublin, because the Black Golfers Alliance is having an event over the weekend, and so there's going to be a number of us there. They're actually going to drive up on Friday. I'm gonna miss that part because I'll be driving back to Dublin. But they're going up to Renee Powell's course. They're going to play that. That'll be a nice history experience for that group. And then they're going to come back and play golf Saturday and Sunday in Dublin. The Memorial and the PGA Tour have teamed up to sponsor that group. And we've invited John Starks to come join us. We're going to have a cigar, event Friday night and again Saturday when we're out at the golf course. And so it'll be an opportunity for people to, chop it up with John, learn more about, his cigar company and the connection to Charlie. And so that week, of course, because it's his birthday, will be a memorable week. And it's, the memorial. So it's a perfect fit to what we're doing. And then, finally, we've got in the middle of July, the Travelers. The first tournament Charlie won was Hartford. They have loved Charlie since he won the tournament there. They have treated him with, nothing but kindness and reverence for his journey. And they are planning. There's still, a lot to be finalized, but they have basically proposed a Charlie Sifford youth golf tournament on the Tuesday before the event, before the Travelers kicks off. And then, they're going to raise money for scholarships to be determined, right there. But they're leaning in and doing some nice things for Dr. C. And so, anyway, I went on and on about everything that we're doing, but I wanted to give you the context because I think it's important.
So specific months is June the 1st and 2nd, and then also Travelers, which will be in Connecticut as well.
Correct.
And also you mentioned in June out in DC.
Yeah. So June 1st will be at Dublin at the Memorial. During their ceremony. Yeah. June 2nd will be at Langston. That's his actual birthday. And then we'll go back to Dublin for the Black Golf Alliance and do a Sifford Centennial cigar, event with John. And he'll end up playing golf Saturday morning with the group. Chris Sifford, I don't know if you know Chris, but Chris
he's part of Black Golf Alliance.
He is, and he's the one of the great nephews of Charlie. And so, he's going to be there and he's going to be, talking loud and trying to take names. I don't know if he can take John's name, though, for real.
Can you talk about the connection between, because you mentioned influencing students. Can you talk about the partnership with HBCUs?
Yeah, so one of the things that came out of the discussion with the PGA Tour is that the President's Cup this year is taking place in Charlotte, which is Charlie's hometown. And so they wanted to use that event and that venue, and they got the cooperation of the President's Cup to do so. And so earlier this year, they came to us and asked to use Charlie's name, image, and likeness for an HBCU tournament at Quail Hollow. And so it's going to be the Charlie Sifford Centennial Cup. The process is that there is I can't remember the golf ranking service that
1 to 4.
No, it's another. It's a golf ranking service, and they're going to take the top 4 HBCUs. And I think the season's over, and I think the ranking is done. President's Cup, when they first announced this back in February, I think it was, they said the current standings are such and such. So you can go to my Instagram or to their Twitter account, and you can actually see what the rankings were then. They put an update out here just recently, a couple of weeks ago. But in effect, what they're going to do is it's going to wind up being 6 teams. Johnson C. Smith, who is Charlotte, they're going to be the host, and then the 4 top-ranked HBCUs and the top-ranked Division II school will have their 4 best men's golf team players team up, and it'll be 12 on 12. The President's Cup will essentially select the teams, will allow the golfers access to Quail Hollow in the last weekend of August. So they have a practice round on Sunday, and then they play team match play in the morning and individual in the afternoon. And the winning team wins the Sifford Centennial Cup, and probably some prizes for the individual winners. But that's the connection to the HBCUs in the case of the President's Cup. And then what they'll do 3 weeks later, when the President's Cup actually occurs, is they're going to have a Charlie Sifford Leadership Conference, and the PGA and President's Cup will interact with the community, will interact with folks, in Charlotte, and talk about Charlie, talk about his legacy, and talk about sort of, again, the qualities that Charlie possessed that are leadership qualities. And the other thing I didn't mention is that when the HBCU tournament is done, Trevor Immelman, who is the captain of the international team, and Davis Love, who is the captain of the U.S. team, they're going to do their, last 2 player selections right after that tournament concludes. So I suspect there'll be some, Golf Channel coverage and connection there between the President's Cup and the actual HBCU Sifford Centennial Cup. So, again, I think that's going to be quite an event for again, name recognition and boosting of Dr. Sifford's image.